Hi, this is Marty Meyer, and we're studying through the Gospel of Mark. We're looking today at Mark chapter 4, verses 35 through 41, and we're going to be talking about stuff that only God can do. Now, to pick it up, Jesus has been teaching all day from a boat as people crowded along the shore, and at the end of the day, he was tired, and he said to his disciples, let's take this boat and just go across. And that's exactly what they did. And Jesus promptly fell asleep in the bottom of this boat, in the stern. And it speaks to his humanity. You have to understand that the disciples, first and foremost, knew Jesus in his humanity as a person, as a human being. And he got hungry just like us. He got tired just like us. And Jesus was absolutely exhausted. And he fell asleep in the bottom of the boat. He was a man. You know, Jesus didn't go around saying to everyone, hey, everybody, I'm the Son of God. I'm God come in the flesh. He didn't say that. He allowed that understanding, that revelation to unfold over time. And likewise, you and I and the friends that we're witnessing to, it takes some time to grasp hold of this idea that Jesus wasn't just a prophet or a good person. Jesus was God. Now, he proves it by doing stuff that only God can do. So here he is in the bottom of the boat, asleep, and a storm comes up and is raging, and the disciples were afraid. They thought they were going to die. They wake Jesus up and they said, Lord, don't you care that we're perishing? Jesus gets up and he makes short order of this. He literally calms the storms, and the winds and the waves simply die down. Now, if they were afraid before, now they're terrified because they've got God in the boat. I mean, they even ask the question, what kind of man is this? Even the winds and the waves obey him. You know, as good Jewish boys, these fishermen would have been very familiar with the Psalms. I wonder if in that moment they remembered or even recited Psalm 65 that says, O God, our Savior, the hope of all the ends of the earth, you stilled the roaring of the seas, the roaring of their waves, and the turmoil of the nations. This is God who calms seas. And yet here we are with Jesus and he calms the seas. Could this possibly be God? Well, if that wasn't enough, he healed a man with leprosy. And the Jewish understanding at that time was clear, even from the Old Testament and the law, that only God could heal leprosy. And yet, here's Jesus doing stuff that only God can do. You might recall the man who was paralytic, and Jesus forgives his sins. It caused quite a stir, and the religious leaders that were there said, well, only God can forgive sins. Well, that's true. And so that you might know that I have the power to forgive sins, I say to this man, rise up and walk. And he did. You know, much later in chapter 8, verse 29, Jesus asks them directly. They had been with Jesus for a considerable amount of time, and he finally says, yeah, but who do you say that I am? You might recall the response that Peter gave. But what about you and what about me? What response do we give to the question that Jesus asks when he says, who do you say that I am? Well, if it wasn't enough, he shows us by doing things that only God can do. Some of you might have a copy of my book, Mission Accomplished. I would love to send you a copy. Just go to missionaccomplishedbook.net and request a free copy. Just pay a little bit for shipping. But in this book, I tell stories about things that only God can do. And yet, He chooses to do it through us. Now, please be clear and understand, I can't calm the sea, and yet Jesus is our example, and He can do miracles through us. I can't heal anyone, certainly not in my own strength, but I've seen God demonstrate His healing power again and again, even through me. I can't forgive anyone's sins. I didn't die on the cross for you, but Jesus did. And I can share a life-giving message that will forgive sins and create new life in everyone who believes. And so my challenge today is simply to believe that Jesus is who He said He was. And Jesus is who He demonstrated who He was by doing stuff only God can do. Jesus is God. Believe it, and then allow Him to work through you. God bless you.